see if I just make sure I've got the angle right on this, so we can see my table well enough. And I'll just put my charger in as well. So yeah, welcome to my channel. If you've never been here before, my name is Beatrice Ajayi. I am a creative and maker and artist, and this is my channel, Bea Creative TV. And I love to use lots of different mediums on my channel. And I've just finished actually adding these mixed media elements onto my cards, greeting cards that I'm making here. And then what I was doing was just putting my stamp on the back with my name, and basically just getting them ready to put in with their envelopes. So I'll just do this and finish off before I keep going. What have I been up to? So yeah, I've been creating these greeting cards, and I've been trying to think of, going back to creating some of my meadows. So I thought today that might be something I get into with you once I've just stamped these cards. But yeah, I hope you're doing well. I am keeping myself busy with all these creative ventures, and I still kind of traveling to the city centre in Glasgow. If you don't know where I am based in Scotland, just outside Glasgow. And I am I've got my artwork in a non-for-profit or non-profit organization in town. And so I take my stock in every couple of weeks to update what is there, to check on my sales, tidy up, and just to make sure that everything is going okay. If I have any questions, I can ask the staff, and the staff are really friendly. So it's really good because you go in and you organize your space, and then you leave. And they hire staff that end up looking after your work, looking after the customers. So it's just really a really good environment, and there's lots of different artists that have really amazing stuff in there as well. So yeah, so that keeps me busy thinking about what I can put in there. And I've already started looking at what I am going to have for autumn. So I've been working on that in the background as well, autumn, Christmas time, because a lot of my things I do are handmade, obviously, like my paintings, or upcycling items, or kind of like adapting different things that you find to create artwork and give them a second life, I think. So sometimes it will be things I'll find like thrifting or in a charity shops. So a lot of different things that I'm doing all the time. So once these are dry, I will put them in the cello sleeve. So I'm just going to put them to the side so that I can get on with what I've planned for today. So put this over here. So I have my water in this teapot. I had this from when I was a kid. This was one of the teapots I think my mum had, and I didn't want to get rid of it because I just thought it's a part of my memory from when I was a kid. So I have it here, and I use it as a water dispenser, just a water tin for my paints. So you can see the paint all over it there. So I just thought it was a nice idea to use that for that, and I like the aesthetics of it on my table as well. So I'll just move this over. What I was looking at for this week's live, oh yeah, I didn't mention that this is part of my Wednesday lives, that I try to work kind of in a public arena and show you some of the things I get up to. And also it's helping me with scheduling my time because I can be quite distracted. So I am trying to organize it so that I produce work, I get new ideas, I'm inspired to keep creating artwork. So yeah, that's what this Wednesday time is for, is just to keep me motivated, inspired, and that's why I have this space for it. So usually I've been thinking sometimes that I should do this a lot earlier than I'm doing it, than this 12 o'clock time, because it feels like people get busier as the morning goes along. So that is quite, it gets noisier basically as more people are out and about. And also the kids are on holiday right now, but I'm kind of giving them a bit of a warning when I'm trying to do this so that they are not distracting me for that 30-minute or 45-minute timeline that I have. I have been basically also trying to be quick with the creativity that I'm doing. So let's see what comes out. As always, I have lots of ideas of what I want to do, but I have decided to try and narrow it down so that my brain doesn't have to think too much. So I'm just going around looking for colors that I can mix. And what I'm trying to do today is create a meadow. So just to take my time and paint that. So let's see if I get a blue here. And I'll mix it with different colors. If I can open this blue, it feels like, yep, there we go. Feels like it's stuck. So I'm gonna try and use just as not too much paint, and it's not about the texture, it's more about what I am creating today. So I love to get a lot of texture and things, but I'm trying to be a bit thoughtful on what I do today. But I like a sizable brush, so let's see what this brush does. I have my little spreader here, shaper. What's it called even? Does it have a specific name? It's a catalyst wedge, and it is by Princeton, yeah, got that right. And I got it when we had our trip earlier in the year to America, so that was in New York that I bought that, and some other ones as well, some other shapers, so I could use them to kind of create designs on my page. So seeing as I've mentioned that, I'll just bring it up. So I'm just going to start and just work away. This was a page that I used up some paint from another session on, so I thought I would do something on it. And I really used to love creating a lot of meadows, so I've not done that for a while. I'm gonna try and mix a really dark brown, because I used to find that creating browns was like one way to get a really nice shadowy tone in the background of the paintings. So it's just to kind of get shadows and things in. So I paint in a very abstracted way. So and then I kind of build the layers on that. So this is acrylic paint I'm using today. So if you've never been here before, yet again, I want to just introduce myself. I am Beatrice Ajayi. I'm an artist based in Scotland, and I really love to create a whole range of subject paintings and characters and things. So today I wanted to kind of work on some abstracted meadow painting. So I'm just going over this. I know that it can be quite reflective with my paint because this acrylic paint, it's not matte colors, so it can be quite distracting with the reflections on it. So I'll try and see if I can get different, or move my, like I'm trying to learn to move my pages a bit so that you can see things in a whole range of ways. So just starting to mix in different colors. I have ultramarine here. What red is this? It's a bright red. Cadmium red hue, it's saying. This is quinundrum. I can never say it properly, but well, actually no, this is Indian yellow hue, this one. I was thinking it was the other red. It's not, it's the Indian yellow. This is raw sienna. This is a turquoise of some sort, a dark green, hooker's green, or is it phthalo green, and a yellow. And I'm just mixing different colors and seeing what I make, basically. And there's all sorts of ways that I think about how I want to make colors. And I've just realized I want to get my, I have my cerulean blue. It's quite far away. I don't know if I'm going to get it because I might fall over. But I've not been very clever and I've put it quite far away. So I've not got any black on this palette, and yet my colors, I've got a gray going on here with the brown, the red, and the blue, and it's created a gray blue now. So I just want to add different colors on the page. And the idea here is that this is towards the sky. So I am creating a sky area. And if I want to make things a bit more green, a light green, or introduce leaves of some sort. I think I've noticed that if I'm using thicker paints, it's just the texture is just so much more fun. Using a little bit more liquid one is not really inspiring me as much. So there's a time for each texture anyway, so. So I'm trying to think about flowers, and this again, you'd have to put more layers on top. So I'm deliberately kind of mixing colors together right now and slowly introducing what I'm gonna use later on. So I don't know, you can't see it very well there. So it's kind of an introduction of colors. It's not the final way it will look. So sometimes what I do is that I have like a kind of a valley that goes down the middle of the meadow flowers that I'm creating. So you can kind of, your eye can kind of travel along some areas, like different kind of light areas that are coming through. So it's going to take a while to build that all up. And the white makes it more opaque, so you have to add a bit more white to build it up. So as I said, I'll keep moving it around because the reflective colors, like of the light above, the brightness of the light, and then the reflective color of this, because it's not matte, it's kind of a glossy result you get with this acrylics. So and then sometimes I just, yeah, once areas have dried, you go in with darker colors again. I'm looking at some red flowers here. And I like, I mean, when you're painting, it's not only about the colors and things, it's also about the way you feel when you're moving your hand across the paper. So there's a lot involved in painting. I think it's like just the paint under your hands can inspire you on what to do. I want to bring in an orange here, so I'm going to put a lot more yellow, and it's kind of an orange, but so let's bring that in. So let's see if we can see that. And it's like when you're thinking about this, it's like, where would I put these colors? Because orange likes to work quite well beside blues. And yeah, you just layer it. So I think for me today, it's really about just feeling that fun of playing around with colors, mixing different colors, seeing what happens. So that green with this yellow is gonna bring something else in. And I could use a different size of brush as well, so that's another thing. I want to go into the blue and really mix in. So it's a different kind of green. So this looks very chaotic. And what I could do is go into the white, and I can push some areas back. So I'm using this almost like you would use, you know, fluid acrylics. It's very, very liquidy. And you build up the layers. And if I move it around, you can see how it's sort of starting to build a landscape of some sort. And you can paint in and cut out areas, and I mean, you could leave it to dry and then come back in as well. It doesn't have to be that we go in. And I'm not really being precious about this because you can paint specific characters over this later on. This side for me is about exploring what shadows are in here. So let's see if I can let you see what is going on now from what it was. So it's kind of like this kind of color, and we're building and building some more. So let's see if I can come a bit closer. So yeah, I'm just building and building some more. I'm gonna try and see if I can get this really in blue. If you hear anything falling in the background, that is me. There's this one here. I don't know if I can get very much out of it. That's color, but I wanted to have a bigger amount because I'm trying to go for a blue. So there's this one, but it's running out. Like a bluey, really light bluey green. To introduce, and then I'm just playing with my brush there. I could use my drying tool here as well. So if there's areas you want to stick out, you basically just go in and surround it with your other newer colors. And because things are still wet, you can blend, or you will also end up smudging other colors into other areas. And it's getting lighter up there, which is what I wanted, because the idea is that this is the sky, the blue sky light coming in. So you can even still go over this with like yellows once that's dried. And these other areas are gonna have kind of like blues and, well, greens, really darker colors coming into these areas. So then over this, I can still put more colors. So I can go back into the red and go over again and add other colors into the red, like some white. It's brought about different kind of a red. So it's just mixing different colors in. See there. Just gonna put my brush in there and see if I can let this dry. I'm gonna probably maybe use my dryer to clean it, to heat it up a little bit. But I'll see, hopefully I will not fall over trying to do what I'm about to do. So I'll be right back in a minute. Right, I survived. Just let me zoom back out again so that we can see what we're seeing. So this was the blue that I was trying to get. We'll see if it actually makes any sort of difference. But yeah, so I'm hoping that you have had a chance to do some creative, spend some creative time yourself, making artwork, because it's so much fun actually, making art, so much fun. Actually, what I'm gonna do is just zoom over this a little bit with my heater. Oops, just making some chaos here. Right. Let's see. Is this on? It is. So as you can see, it's really hard to see the actual way that this looks. But when I tilt it, you can see a little bit more of what's going on. So I'm going to keep going, and it's about layer building, as I said, and that's how you end up seeing what you do at the end. It's not a very quick process, but you've got a lot of different hints of colors going on, and it's just to play with that and build on that. But you should really try, and if you've never worked with acrylics, do try it. It's a lot of fun. I am doing something quite abstract here, but you could always stick with realism, or you could, sometimes I'll add collage to this as well. So there's different ways that I work to get effects. And this is me working in my sketchbook as well. So you don't have to work in your sketchbook. You could work in other ways. So These are all layering and layering, usually to the end or the bottom of my I usually have like some darker colors at the bottom, but and I like to just put in colors and mixing them. I hardly ever just wash my brush like that. I like to mix in colors together, and then I kind of scumble over stuff. So sometimes when you just add some white, you just end up getting other interesting areas again. So it's like an intuitive way of painting, really. It's not. So colors are mixing on the way as I'm going along, and slowly layering and finding areas of interest and bringing those areas out. When something dries, it just ends up changing as well. Like the layer changes when you now add another color onto it. So as my brush is mixing other colors, like this is a purpley kind of color. I'm trying to think where I want to add it. Is it going to be like a shadow to other plants? Is it going to bring out, I mean, where will it stand out the most? Where will it complement the most? Or sometimes I just add things because I'm thinking of shadows and but then you can carry the colors through. So as I said, this is like the idea of a meadow, so it's building and building, and that's what it's looking like right now. I'm gonna dry it again a little bit and see what else I can add on it. So usually these sessions, I've been trying to make them about half an hour, 45 minutes. So this might be similar to that. I'll probably be finishing soon, but it's just plain in my sketchbook, like I've said, creating a kind of meadow background. Oops. My little heater's decided it's cooling itself down, so I can't heat that up right now, so I'll have to wait till it cools down. It does that by itself. It doesn't like to be on for too long, which is a good thing because it's safer that way. I might bring in a lot more white than I have on this, maybe. See, I'm just building the layers, and then you can always paint a very strategic, bigger, more dynamic flower on this, because this is kind of like a background in a meadow. So trying to think what I could use next and create some dynamic shapes. So maybe this my smaller, actually where's my lining brush or so that I can, so many brushes I have here, it's ridiculous. You can also actually, once it's dry, draw over it with woody sticks. So woodies are really interesting. I like this turquoisey color, seeing as I've got that kind of theme going on across this. I'm just gonna sharpen this one. Comes with a very specialized sharpener that's quite big, but woodies are like water soluble crayons, and I like that color, so I'm gonna use that. What other color could I use? Maybe this blue. Might see if I've got the white there. Oh, there's a purple. That might do something. So I'm doing all this and waiting for it to dry partially, to be honest, before I start going in there. I'll do maybe start with some of the purple and start. What I'm trying to do is get some leaves in here. I could use my brush, but then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use this drawing tool. and start getting some other elements into the meadow. Also, I could use a brown as well, actually, just for the idea of branches and sticks. So this morning, to actually get this, or this afternoon now it is, to get this set up was a little bit, as usual, technical issues, but I am still working on my studio to make things more functional. So finally I've gotten back to the original idea I had of being able to see my screen, like this recording screen, on my main monitor in my studio, so that I can make sure that I am able to be placed in the right position. So that's the purple one. Let's try the turquoise if it will show up. What will I do with the turquoise? What kind of designs? So you can see in the darker areas here, it's showing up. So it's so interesting what you can do with your tools, and you can scratch into areas and paint areas. If it was drier now, these would be a lot better interactions. It looks good though. Let's see if I can get closer. So I always do this the wrong way, right? Let's say go this way and move it over a little bit. So what I've been doing is, like here, I just scraped that into that. Like, okay, let's try this area here. So I could use the blue one, seeing as I've done that one. And I could just show you, see there where I've just scribbled into it. And you can do this with all of them and you get that kind of a scribble effect. So you can see what the meadow looks like a bit better now. I have been building the layers. You can see the suggestion of flowers, what I've just sketched with the woody there. So the longer that I get to play around with this, there'll be more details on it. I am thinking I want to put some white on this. So let's go back out. Should I go that far out? Let's see, close enough that you can see when I add the white, basically. It's cleaning off my brush. So I could always, like, around here, just start adding like white flowers of some sort. And I'm trying to follow this round, and then if I don't like it, I can always change that. But you can do dots. You can do dots of actual other plants as well. So this is still wet underneath, I think. So we can add even more mysterious things going on here. But yeah, I like that. So let's see what that looks like if I, and then if I wanted to make like thinner lines, I'm not really doing that very well at the moment. But you can play with going back in, and the colors are blending, so it's pushing it back. So it's kind of like some kind of floral thing happening back here. Like the dandelions ideas, I think, if I play with it for long enough. It's like a suggestion of a dandelion. Kind of a suggestion. Wow, it's really getting noisier here. So I just take our time and play around with that. And then if I wanted to have some darker greens, have a darker green. Sometimes if you wait for things to dry, you can add other things, other colors as well. So let's see if I can keep going. I'll go out a bit. There we go. So there's some kind of a hint of something here. And you can see how that looks. I can push back a lot of color here if I use a bigger brush. And if I don't want it to be too heavy-handed, some blue. But I could push back quite a lot. If I come closer, I think I can show you this. So if I didn't like all these areas, I could just do this. Just push into it, and you've got really nice colors coming out of that. And push in, and you get all sorts of swathes of things, and it's like you're coming into this meadow a bit more, cutting in. I want to do like a path through the meadow. So I'm going to bring in some of these colors. And if I want to open it up about here, right, let's go further out because so it's kind of like I've gone here. I can scratch into this. I've got a tool here actually that I use. It's like I think it's like a garden thing of some sort. You can scratch into areas, you can reveal some, you can even like scratch into it and do leaves again and get all sorts of really dynamic things there. Let's go closer a bit. So you can see the scratches here. To scratch into these areas so it looks like there's plants overlapping as well, like grasses. So it's not so stiff a shape. So I'll go back out. So I've done that, like I'm doing this along this very random path we've now put in to look like there's plants going off into different directions. So it's not just like there's nothing kind of interacting over the edges. So yeah, just build in the path. So, and then just playing around with what we put here. It could get darker actually. As we get further down this path here. Let's see. So imagine meadows tied in with some landscape. And if I make this darker and darker, like down here, let's go up a bit so you can see how this conclusion has become. And I can do all sorts of other patterns and designs in here, smaller brushes. Oops, Alexa, stop. So that's my timeline finished there. But yeah, basically like if you're walking up a path and there's all sorts of things going on at that end there. Let's see. And you're wondering what's at the end of that path. That would be like a really cool thing. And probably to let some of it dry, because it looks like, I really like this bluish, this that's going on down there. So that's really, I mean, there's so much we can add to start dragging this area down to this side. So if some of it are dried, then you can see where you're putting in colors that are playing around and moving. And then like if I really want to be really strict and I want to bring in some colors aggressively, or push it back with some white. There's a lot going on just to, it's not that this is supposed to be water, so if it's supposed to be a woodland floor, then we'd have to lean more into the browns. And then if we're leaning into the browns, it needs to be aggressively dark towards this area here, so that you can kind of go, all right, okay. It's like it's getting darker and all sorts. But yeah, I like it because there's a lot of scope. Might be, I'm hoping I'm not too quiet on this. I'm just enjoying myself, really, to be honest, right? And trying to get all sorts of textures into this. And this is supposed to be a lot more kind of brown tones, so there'll be a lot of really nice textured browns going on in here. Lead into all these areas. It's not water, so it shouldn't be this blue. I think it should be a lot nicer colors going in. And then having the boldness to just say, right, some areas are just, you know, a brown, and mix in as well. So, and then if it's supposed to be a path, I need to work on that to look more like a path. And then maybe some grays, so that, but yeah, something firmer here, because it's not as firm as it could be coming in. So I need to wait till it dries, add some more on these sides again, and then it's not resolved, but you can see the reflection, but you can see what I'm trying to do was to kind of get a path coming down this middle area here. So that's more of a better view to see what it is. So it's like an idea is springing out, but then where do you go with it? So I thought that was quite nice. And as I said, scratching into areas, into the textures. So you have to be quite patient with it. But I really liked the way that some of it is. So then you would go in and add some of your other colors again. The colors building up some areas. And flowers and whatever else that you'd be doing. And yeah. With this red and purple, or whatever it needs to be. There's other colors actually I could have put in here. Let me just see. I brought them over. Let me just use them. It looks like I'm spending slightly longer time, but I'm gonna use these colors. They're just straight out of their jars. These three colors I'm gonna put on, and then we can finish for today. Oof, that's a lot of pink. And then this very joyful green, I'm gonna call it. So these are heavy bodies acrylics that I'm using, and this one, yeah, Liquitex heavy body, and this is a vivid lime green. Vivid lime green. So I want to just introduce some of this. Big brushes, big brush strokes of this in. Is this actually drying? Yeah. Okay, let's just put some of these colors down. Just gonna put them wherever. The deep purples be beside them, and just be very fluid with it. So and put some more in here. Of the brown. So there's like a lot going on. Still a lot more fun to go. So it doesn't look as clear as it could do on this, but it's basically a landscape. You're walking through the meadow, and it's to get an impression of that. So the more time is spent on it, then the more it will come out, because it's all layering and layering. And then we can go back into the ground, and we can, you know, the path, and we could actually have made the area better. So all the layering is what basically improves it. So yeah, it's just to keep playing with it and see how it goes. That's what you do basically. But I could always make it worse before I make it better, to be honest. There's so much more that I could do, but then I'd have to take more time correcting it. So I want to just leave it like that, to be honest. Like this be the last view that you see because it's a lot better than if it's flat. But yeah, the impression is for a meadow. That's what I spend the time trying to create. And I was trying to put some of the blues up here, so all the layering, then scratching through that, and then these areas here. I mean, I can't wait till it's actually drier. Then you go in with some of this, a little bit there, and you just start adding like kind of not cobblestones or pebbles, but that whole idea, and improve this scene a bit more once it's dry, because right now it's still very, like, you need to really play and take time with where the light is coming from. And that's the thing with when you're making imaginary paintings, you are dictating what your story is, so you have to kind of like think about what it is that you want to be saying and how to get that across, basically. So yeah, I will see you in the next share. Do take care and enjoy yourself, basically, because that's all we can do. You can make your art and have fun. So I'll see you next time. Have a great week. And I'm just gonna stay here and keep painting, to be honest, and enhancing this a bit more and scratching through where I need to and add in bits of white when I need to. So I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Bye.